Story 1. Today is my birthday. Last year I really did not do anything, but this year I am having a birthday party. I have not had one in years, laughing out loud. Story 2. My birthday is today. I had lunch with family yesterday because I wanted to relax with my partner. I put up the Christmas tree, ate leftover cake, and lounged on the couch. It was the best birthday ever. Story 3. About a month and a half ago, I was lounging in Greece in 30-degree weather and full sunshine. It was wonderful. Story 4. My birthday was November 21st. I had a dinner party with my family. I bought tickets for a show in December as a gift to myself. Story 5. My husband and I went to the United States Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. I have wanted to go there since I was a child, and I live only a couple of hours away, so we made a day of it. It was, pardon the pun, a blast. We had dinner at a wonderful Chinese restaurant in Gadsden, and I had a space-themed cake, laughing out loud. Story 6. I cried alone in bed because I had no one to celebrate with. Story 7. I played a round of disc golf with friends on my birthday, then had a party with family and a few more friends on the weekend. Just spending time with the people I love, the perfect birthday. Story 8. My husband had the day off, and I had to run errands for 4 hours. When I came home, he had balloons, a cake, and other nice things, but I could not find him. I asked where he was and went to our bedroom. He was completely blacked out and plastered drunk at 2 in the afternoon. All I wanted was to go out to dinner, but he had been day drinking while I was gone. I kicked him out for a while and then, foolishly, took him back. Story 9. I had a class with presentations, and I saw my birthday as the first available date to present. So I gave myself the birthday gift of finishing early and not stressing about it for the rest of the semester. Also, my laboratory mates got me cake and candles, and it was really nice. Story 10. My wife and I stayed at home and played a murder mystery game I bought from Amazon. It was a fun night, 11 out of 10. I would do it again. Story 11. My 30th birthday was last Friday. I went on a 48-hour binge, drank too much, was knocked out in a fight, and spent the next week dealing with intense anxiety. Story 12. I spent it completely alone in my bedroom, just like most of my birthdays, actually. Story 13. I did not remember until a month later. Story 14. Today I am just hanging out with my husband and son. I made a chocolate cake yesterday and bought a very expensive doll this morning that I have wanted for years. So it has been a good day. Story 15. I got very drunk at a fire, fell badly on a gravel driveway, and chipped my tooth. I woke up with rocks in my bed. I am okay, and it was fun. Story 16. My wife booked a weekend getaway to a city a couple of 100 miles away. We took a really cool cave tour, a glass-bottom boat tour through the clearest water I have ever seen, and spent a couple of nights in a hotel with great food and drinks. It was a surprise. I did not know anything about the trip until my birthday 3 days before. She just told me to block out the weekend. Story 17. Nothing. This year I would like to take a 3-day trip alone. Story 18. It was my first birthday since my liver transplant. I felt emotional, grateful, and humble. I kept it low-key, just me and my husband. I did not want any gifts. My doctors gave me permission to have a steak, the first one in 4 years, and cake. Story 19. I went to my favorite restaurant, which is an hour's train ride away. The city where it is has a monkey house, so I went there with my husband. It was my 30th birthday, and I was 13 weeks pregnant at the time. Story 20. I stayed home, drank wine, and watched Netflix on my couch. It is the end of January, and it is usually about minus 35 degrees here. Story 21. All of my friends who had confirmed they would attend karaoke backed out at the last second, so my best friend and I went home, drank wine, and watched the Muppet movie. The next day, my now boyfriend felt so bad about the ordeal that he took me out for the whole weekend and completely spoiled me. He treated me to fancy drinks, charcuterie, my favorite movies, and lots of snuggling. Although my birthday was disappointing, he really made it up to me. Story 22. My boyfriend and I celebrated in Chicago. We had always dreamed of living there, and we stayed in a hotel with a city view and spent the whole night walking the streets. It was the best birthday ever. Story 23. I cried on the way home from work because I was so exhausted after a 10.5-hour shift. Cuddling with my boyfriend at home made the day a whole lot better, though. Story 24. I had my baby the day before and spent the entire day in the hospital on magnesium sulfate. Story 25. I took the day off work. My partner and I went for pedicures, then watched my favorite movie. I made my favorite meal of white person tacos, and we finished the day with a funfetti cake. It was a lovely day, the best birthday in years. Story 26. I was supposed to have a movie marathon of my celebrity crush on my birthday last year with a friend, but I chickened out and spent time with family as usual. I felt bad about using her subscriptions and did not want her to spend money renting movies she did not already have or to sit through films she found boring. What is the point? Story 27. The month before my birthday, I sign up for as many birthday freebies as I can find and then run around to collect them on my birthday. These include a free dessert at a restaurant or a free coffee from a coffee shop. It's kind of fun. Story 28. I went to a fine dining seafood restaurant. I ordered Chilean sea bass and had baked Alaska for dessert. Story 29. I booked a room at a nice hotel, lounged by the pool, and drank cocktails by myself. It was amazing. Story 30. I had a photo shoot with a friend, ate Indian food, and went out of town to celebrate with my birthday twin. Story 31. My husband took me out for lunch at an elegant Italian restaurant in Belsize Park, London. It was lovely. Story 32. My mom took me out for a large margarita and a crab bucket. It is a tradition. I was laughing out loud. 10 out of 10. I take her to her favorite steakhouse for her birthday. Story 33. My wife booked us on a tasting tour at an oyster farm near Tamales Bay. We loved every minute of it. Story 34. I went to work and came home. My birthday is this week. I will be preparing for an important job interview while my wife is out of town. I am going to get my free Denny's meal. Story 35. I went to Mount Mitchell with my sister and brother-in-law, and we hiked a few miles. My sister made me dinner and a birthday cake. My boyfriend had to work, so he could not come hiking, but he took me to an Indian restaurant and gave me a nice present. It was a lovely way to turn 35. Story 36. I had a drink, played some games, bought a cake, and ate it. Story 37. I took the day off from everything I should have been working on and did an excessive amount of reading instead. Story 38. I turned 26, so I ran a marathon on my local trails and then had a barbecue with friends at the park. It was the first birthday I can remember when I did not cry. Story 39. I told my family that I did not want to do anything at the time because of exams. Once they were over, we all forgot and laughed. Story 40. Just dinner with the family. I didn't really want to do anything, to be honest, but my parents insisted. Story 41. My husband took me to medieval times. I had always wanted to go, and I got knighted and became a lady. Story 42. Nothing. I just went about my day and avoided thinking about it so it would not trigger my negative thoughts. Story 43. I do not do anything for birthdays or holidays. My family does, but I do not know why. I have not felt up to it for a couple of years. Story 44. I've never been the most festive person out there, but you get to a point where it's just another Wednesday. Heck, I was at work as normal and no one knew. Story 45. I invited my friends and my boyfriend for pizza. Sadly, it was a sad party because, just a month later, half of my friends randomly ditched me. Story 46. I went to work, came home, ate, and slept. The next morning I did the same. I wish I could do something on my birthday, but nowadays I focus on working hard so I can do what I want without worrying about money. Story 47. I worked, but I treated myself to something to eat after work. I would normally have taken a day off on my birthday or the Friday of that week, but I was less than a month into a new job and was not sure I could. Given how the company treated me, I doubt I would have been allowed to if I had asked. Story 48. I was traveling with my partner, and she rented a private cabin in the woods with a hot tub, fire pit, and barbecue. Story 49. I cried. My friend died by suicide on my birthday. Another friend was supposed to take me to San Antonio, but the plans were canceled. Story 50. I went out, ate, then went home and hung out with my parents and sisters. Story 51. My wife took me out on a date, and we had Indian food at one of our favorite restaurants. Story 52. I cannot remember the last time I celebrated my birthday, honestly. Male, 45 years old. Story 53. I spent the day with my husband and kids, visited my parents, and had a takeaway dinner. Story 54. I ran a trail race. It was the farthest distance I had ever run, 50 miles. Story 55. I turned 50 in September. I played golf with my best friend. He did not even know it was my birthday, and that made it all the better. My significant other was out of town for a conference. I picked up my favorite meal on my way home from golf and just chilled. It was a perfect day. Story 56. I hope it was not my last and that I will have another one next year. Story 57. I played my guitar collection and smoked a significant amount of hashish all day. Story 58. Late night movie at the drive-in with my partner. Then we drove out to a clifftop in the national park, made out like teenagers in the back of the car, and watched the sunrise. Story 59. That was almost a year ago. I think it was at a restaurant. I wish I still had my friends from my heyday. Story 60. I went to a fabric store with my youngest daughter because that is what she wanted to do. Story 61. I cried most of the day because I felt very depressed. I do not know if my age was the cause. I suspect there was another reason. Story 62. I fought with my ex because she had given me a better birthday than I had given her, which I thought was unfair. Story 63. My last birthday hasn't happened yet. Or has it? Dun dun dun. Story 64. I was supposed to get drunk and party. Instead, I spent it dying of dehydration, unable to walk, and being screamed at by my ex for accusing me of so much. My birthday is in 4 months, so I get a whole do-over. Story 65. Not a damn thing. I do not celebrate birthdays or holidays anymore. This will be the 5th Thanksgiving and Christmas that I have not celebrated. Story 66. I have smoked a joint for each year I have been alive and then some. Story 67. I worked from home, saw a movie with my boyfriend, and got pizza. Story 68. I haven't had my last birthday yet. This year money was tight, and it was just my 63rd birthday. My roommate made a cake and my favorite dinner, and I enjoyed several strong drinks. I live fairly simply by choice. Story 69. I had drinks with friends and visited an art exhibit. Story 70. I watched the Tyson fight. My kids got pizza from my favorite shop and a cheesecake. It was going to be great. I had to make it up by buying myself an expensive toy, a 3-dimensional printer. Story 71. I slept in, then went out to get a pizza and see a movie with my brother, and came home to play video games. Being 42 feels strange. Story 72. No one in my family besides my parents wished me a happy birthday. My birthday is tomorrow and I expect the same. I just want to skip it. I am not even invited to Thanksgiving this year. Story 73. I traveled to New England with my daughter. It was very special. Story 74. I relaxed in my bedroom, drank whiskey, and watched the TV show Stargate. I have a 4-year-old child and an ex-partner, which makes life a little crazy. The evening was amazing. Story 75. I haven't done anything for my birthday in several years. Once I realized my friends didn't like me, I stopped trying to be around them. That led me to spend holidays and birthdays alone. A big cupcake and a good movie are always a nice way to celebrate a birthday by yourself. Story 76. I went to a tea house with my family. We sat like little old British ladies, sipping from our fancy teacups with our pinkies up while eating dainty finger sandwiches. Story 77. I was home after 2 months in the hospital recovering from a blood infection that attacked my heart and caused a stroke and a valve replacement. It was a terrible year. It almost killed me. Story 78. I went to an axe throwing bar with a couple of friends. For my next birthday, I am going to a Magic the Gathering event with my boyfriend and some of our friends. Story 79. I'm middle-aged and completely over birthdays. So as usual, I didn't do anything except humor my sister by having lunch with her. Story 80. I spent it with my parents and family friends, knowing it would be the last birthday I would spend where they threw me a party. Story 81. Open presents and cards. Then it's just the same as any other day. Story 82. I was at university that day. I had planned to have a drink, but I do not think I did much drinking. I spent more time studying than anything else. I turned 22. Story 83. I haven't celebrated my birthday since I was 8 or 9 years old. Laughing a lot. I don't do anything for my birthday. I might order slightly more food from DoorDash or Grubhub at most, but it's still nothing crazy. For example, I might splurge a little and order around $30 worth of food instead of around $20. Story 84. I watched the time tick by. Not sure if it's just me, but my birthday goes by in a District of Columbia flash. Story 85. I am near Detroit. My husband took me to Grey Ghost for dinner and then to Metro Goldwyn Mayer Grand Casino for slots and drinks. It was a great time. Story 86. I had brunch with my girlfriends, a manicure and pedicure, and a Dungeons and Dragons session with my guy friends. Story 87. I got my nails done and went to dinner with a couple of friends. I will probably do the same this year. Story 88. I had an unexpected birthday celebration with a family who adopted me after I rescued their teenage son from abandoned mines and brought him back alive and well. Story 89. I honestly don't remember. I think my mother-in-law made a cake and we had a family dinner. My daughter made me a nice card. I remember that part. I am 40. This doesn't need to be a big production. Story 90. I got a pony-shaped cake a week before and ate it every day. On the day itself, I drank alcohol, and my friend stayed up with me. People congratulated me and I ate a lot of food. It was okay. Story 91. I swam in my sister's boyfriend's grandmother's pool. Story 92. We went bungee jumping. Then my wife and I brought dinner to an epic sunset spot and ate while watching the sun go down. We also have the same birthday. Story 93. I drove my sister's dogs back to her after we had watched them for a month, while she was temporarily deployed to assist with Hurricane Helene relief efforts. We are twins and we do not always get to see each other on our birthdays, so it is special each time we can. Returning her dogs to her after so long apart, including one who is 16 years old and has been with her since the dog was 6 months old, was a wonderful birthday present. Story 94. At the last minute, I invited my friends to dinner at a favorite burger joint that had burned down last year, but had reopened in a new location. About a dozen people showed up. It was a great evening. Story 95. I went to Springfield, Illinois. I saw Lincoln's tomb, walked quickly through the museum, and shopped at local stores, buying groceries and beer. Story 96. Last year, my girlfriend rented a yurt for us in the mountains. The year before, she gave us a hot air balloon ride for my birthday. I'm a lucky man. Story 97. Nothing in particular. I just hung out with friends, and I think that's honestly the most memorable way to do it. People who go all out for their birthday never really made sense to me unless it's a milestone. Still, maybe it's just not for me. Story 98. I patiently waited for someone to tell me happy birthday. I made myself dinner and then cried myself to sleep. It was better than the birthday before that, which I spent in grippy sock jail. Story 99. I can't stand my birthday, but my kids are adamant that we celebrate it. We went out for pizza on my last birthday and had fun. Story 100. I went to work. I will be 30 in a few weeks. I am taking a week off work to do nothing. I have no friends, okay? Story 101. I went out for dinner, drinks, and karaoke with some friends. It was a good night. Story 102. Worked. Walked the dog. Worked out. Did chores. Went to bed by 9. Solid day. Story 103. I went to the movies. Some theaters give you free popcorn if you sign up for their app. Story 104. I have done the same thing every year since I turned 21. Medieval times. Story 105. I turned 50 last year and got two of my favorite local bands to play at a bar where I worked. Story 106. I cry not for any particular reason, but because I am following a ritual I developed over the years. Story 107. My former partner, who was my girlfriend at the time, arranged a small party for me. She brought balloons, a present, and other things. I wasn't in the mood for any of it. I appreciated the effort, but I was very sad for other reasons. An argument erupted, and it made my last birthday awful. Since that day, my life has gone downhill, and I dread that my birthday is in a few months. I really want to disappear and not have to go through it. I am sorry you are feeling this way. If you are thinking about harming yourself or not wanting to live, please seek help now. Are you safe at the moment? If you are in immediate danger, call your local emergency number right away. If you are in the United States, you can call or text 988 for crisis support. If you are outside the United States, please contact your local emergency services or a local crisis hotline. If you are not in immediate danger, consider reaching out to a trusted person, a mental health professional, or a crisis service. Would you like me to help find resources in your area or stay with you while you talk? Story 108. My birthday was 12 days ago. I had a few phone calls, a FaceTime call from my niece and nephew, and many messages, but I did not leave the house and was alone all day and night. This has been my norm for my birthdays and for Christmas for the last few years, and I do not think I will ever get used to it. Story 109. My birthday is tomorrow. Last year it was spoiled by a large student loan bill. This year I'm ignoring the letter for a few days. Story 110. I finally lived out my 5-year childhood dream. I wanted a jumping castle, also called a bounce house in the United States, for my birthday when my older brother got one. My parents told me, when you are grown up and have your own money, you can have your own jumping castle. Last year I turned 28 and thought I did not have to wait until my 30th birthday to do it. I rented a jumping castle. It was midsummer and a slip-and-slide type. I connected the hose and invited all my friends. Surprisingly, only I and about 3 other adults used it. We were exhausted quickly because we are all in our 30s. So I asked neighbors with children on our street if the kids wanted a turn. Of course they did. Best birthday ever. Story 111. Same thing I have been doing every year. My husband took me out to my favorite restaurant. Story 112. I picked up my dead dog's ashes, bought cupcakes for myself and my friends, and went to my bowling league. Story 113. I got a tattoo. At a family dinner, things became awkward when I discovered my father was being unpleasant and may have started using drugs again. Story 114. I have not celebrated my birthday for about 12 years. Story 115. I never do anything for my birthday. I only get a couple of happy birthday messages and sometimes a gift, often no gift at all. I don't even like the gifts. I just want an actual birthday present. I haven't had one in years. Story 116. Haha. My last birthday was my 30th. I rented a village hall, set up games including a Mario Kart tournament, beer pong and social games, baked a large delicious cake, and invited around 30 friends. The problem was that I live in Burgundy, a famous wine-growing region, and the last weekend of January is the St. Vincent Tournant, a large annual wine fair held since 1938. Only 12 friends came to celebrate my birthday. At least it helped me sort out the people who care about me. Story 117. My birthday is next month. I won't do anything except eat cake by myself. Story 118. My partner celebrated my birthday early. We wore matching Godzilla and Mothra costumes to Godzilla vs. Kong. I was so happy. Story 119. I cried before a 14-hour shift. Later I cried happy tears because a coworker unexpectedly knew it was my birthday and surprised me with a cake mid-shift. On the way home I cried again because that was the nicest thing someone has unconditionally done for me in years. Story 120. I woke to a small wall in my apartment full of photos of memories of me and my loved ones over the years. It startled me when I saw it in a sleepy state on my way back from the bathroom. I went into the living room to see balloons, a birthday banner, and presents. My partner had made me breakfast, coffee, and a Bellini. I opened my presents and we spent the day together, just the two of us. Later, I got ready for a surprise night out. Apart from the dress code, I did not know where we were going. A couple of friends arrived with an incredible, arguably excessive three-tier birthday cake worthy of a wedding and champagne. We had some cake and a drink. Just as we were about to leave, the rest of my close friends arrived, and finally my brother as well. I cried because I had not expected them, especially my brother. We went to a show, burlesque and magic, two of my favorite things, and had a three-course meal. We went back to my place and had a small party to finish the night. Before they left, people took some of their favorite photos from the wall to keep. It was easily the best birthday to date, and I am incredibly lucky and grateful for my people. Story 121. My husband bought me a canoe and took me on an adventure down the river to an abandoned island. We spent the day exploring. It was honestly magical and the best birthday I have ever had. Story 122. For my 38th birthday this year, I went to visit my dad in New York. I had not spent time with him since I got sober 4 years ago because I live in Alabama. We used to drink and carry on, it was kind of our thing, and I was anxious about how he would act around me and what we would do since he had never asked me about my sobriety or really mentioned it. But it was the best decision I ever made. We had a fantastic time getting to know each other again, and he could not have been more proud of me. The trip filled an empty space in my soul that I had desperately needed filled. I am truly blessed in my life today. Story 123. Family and friends came to celebrate by exploring a cave, followed by wine tasting, pasta, and a game night. Story 124. I went to the Azores. They are a beautiful and diverse group of islands. Story 125. I chilled out alone. I went to dinner and a movie, did not speak to a single person, and I was happy as a lark. Story 126. Oh shit. Are you telling me this was my last birthday? I am not ready to go yet. Story 127. My ex took me to a National Basketball Association game to see my favorite team. It was probably the best tangible gift I have ever received. Story 128. I took the ferry to Lower Manhattan on the roof deck. I got an exquisite 60-minute full-body massage for $55 and had dim sum. I took the ferry home, smoked, ate Twin Snakes gummies, and relaxed on the couch. Story 129. I watched the election coverage and went to bed early because I had to work the next day. Story 130. I sat alone in my room. I ordered a dish from a cuisine I had never tried, but I could not eat it and had to throw it away. I went to sleep still half hungry. Story 131. I had it on a cruise to Mexico. The year before, I was on the beach in Malibu with friends. Story 132. It was a scary milestone birthday, so we went to Aruba. The first time in 50 years I had a summer birthday at the beach. Story 133. Morning. Vacation with my family. Afternoon, me time. Story 134. I bleached my ex's hair twice because that was what he wanted. I spent the morning doing things I wanted alone and shopping because I knew he wasn't going to try to make it special for me. Story 135. It was like any other day, except I made sure I was excused from jury duty. A half day was wasted that I could have spent at work instead. 2 more years until I turn 50, and I am going to party. Story 136. I did absolutely nothing. Happy birthday to everyone celebrating today. Story 137. I went to an amusement park and regretted it because I am too old for that. I spent 2 days in bed afterward. Story 138. I took myself to a nice steakhouse because my family did not offer to take me out, and I do not really have any friends. Story 139. I relaxed at home alone and enjoyed it. I used to feel sad that I didn't have birthday parties, but now I don't like to make people feel obligated to give me things or to hang out with me. I'd rather just hang out when everyone wants to and have pizza and play games together. Story 140. There was literally nothing. I was not in my house from 7:20 in the morning to 9:45 in the evening. When I got home, I ate Carvel ice cream cake with my family. This year my birthday is on a Thursday. I am usually not busy then, so I should have a good part of the day to myself. Story 141. It's 2 days before Christmas. so I wanted to hang out at home with my partner. I asked if we could watch all my favorite movies that we usually don't watch. I picked Beauty Shop, Taxi, and Bad Teacher. He also cooked dinner since I usually do the cooking. Story 142. I was staying with friends after leaving an abusive marriage. My 2 children and I were sharing an air mattress in their basement. My friends went out of their way to get me a birthday cake and presents, and I cried happy tears, feeling so loved. Story 143. Visit a strip club and spend $400 on a lap dance. Story 144. I went out for Korean barbecue, then came home and cried because I have no friends. Story 145. I had a normal day at work for my birthday. I went for a walk in the local park and had a nice dinner with my family. To celebrate and treat myself, I booked an Airbnb rental the following weekend for a mini getaway. My 30th birthday is in 6 months, and I have no idea whether I will do anything special. Story 146. I volunteered to work on what was supposed to be my day off and was left alone to work, which was nice. Story 147. A few days later, my classmates wished me a happy birthday, and a friend bought a cake for me, so it was not so bad. Story 148. It was the same day as a big work event, so my birthday got lost in the midst of it. I invited many friends and colleagues to a pre-party, but only 3 showed up, unfortunately. Story 149. I worked, went home, and cried for real. There was no birthday celebration, but I smoked a blunt outside while listening to music, so it wasn't too bad, I guess. It was a hell of a year. Story 150. After work, I played Overwatch with a few friends. Story 151. I treated myself to a small cake because I generally do not eat sweets. Yesterday, I bought a new solid-state drive as a gift to myself. My birthday is usually near Halloween weekend festivities, so this is my party. Story 152. I went to bar and grill and ate a sirloin steak. Story 153. I do the same thing every birthday. I head into the woods before dawn and frolic until nightfall. It is my favorite thing to do. There are no responsibilities. Completely free food lies all around me for me to take. Morels, false morels, and magic mushrooms are in season. Daylilies, cattails, knotweed, and hostas are still the tastiest, most tender shoots. It feels as if nature is wishing me a happy birthday and showering me with more gifts than I can carry. Story 154. I worked on my birthday. The next day my parents came to town, and I went to a nice dinner with them and one of my cousins. Story 155. I did not celebrate or announce it. There was nothing to celebrate, to be honest. It is coming up again in about 3 months, and it already feels like a normal day, laughing out loud. Story 156. My wife and kids made me a painting. I sat on my ass and played video games all day. Story 157. For my 32nd birthday in October, I worked my usual Sunday shift as a bartender. Afterward, I went to my regular bar for a couple of drinks with my husband. The bartenders, whom I love, got the whole bar to sing to me with a flaming candle on a Sunday. I may or may not have cried. Story 158. I had some family over. I think I played Clue with my aunt and some friends. Story 159. I drank coffee, worked on a puzzle, and watched Kenneth Branagh's Agatha Christie movies. It was glorious. This year I'm working. Oh well. Story 160. I, unfortunately, had coronavirus disease 2019, but on the bright side my father bought me Spider-Man 2 for my special day. That was fun. Story 161. I worked, renewed my driver's license, and re-registered my truck. That's about it, but my boyfriend held a surprise birthday party for me at his mother's house that weekend. His sister-in-law made a cake, and I drank alcohol and used marijuana with his brother and his boyfriend because I was turning 21, so it was pretty fun. Story 162. 40. I celebrated my 40th birthday with a stomach bug. My child ate my cupcakes. He is only 3, but he keeps reminding me that I threw up a lot and that he ate my treats. 41 is coming soon. I hope it is better. Story 163. I enjoyed time with friends and family that I had not seen in a while. I ate and drank well and got silly. I went to the Italian market in Philadelphia. Turning 60 is not an everyday occurrence, so it was very special. Story 164. I smoked an expensive cigar, drank some whiskey afterward, and went to bed. Story 165. I got back from work, received a present from my family, thanked them, completed my post-work routine, and went to bed. For my next birthday, I plan to take a day off and visit all the places offering freebies. Story 166. I went with my husband to a funky hole-in-the-wall ethnic restaurant and then out for ice cream. I left very large cash tips, larger than the food bills, at both places. It made me happy to surprise them so much. It was a gift to myself. Story 167. I went to work, came home, ordered Chinese orange chicken, and went to bed. Story 168. I want to do the things I have always wanted and visit the places I have dreamed of. I am tired of holding myself back because my mom died. I still miss her deeply. Story 169. Absolutely nothing. I turned 59 last year and no longer have anyone to celebrate with, so I stayed home. Story 170. I saw Green Day in concert for the first time, and they played my two favorite albums in full. It was awesome. Story 171. I invited several friends to my favorite sandwich shop and pub. I got very drunk and was told I had a great time. Story 172. Same thing I do every year. Tell people to stop celebrating me. I am not worthy. Story 173. I worked and then took my roommate to her doctor's appointment. I was not expecting much from her, but I would have liked at least a happy birthday, or for her to buy me my favorite tea, which I only get when we go to the town where her appointment was. She threw a huge fit when I had to work on her birthday, even though I dropped off cookies, cupcakes, and a gift, and she did not get me anything. I am no longer her roommate or her friend, and it is honestly so relaxing. Story 174. Puro kain at nagpamasa sa chong tai. Gusto ko lang na mas tahimik na padidiwang na kadawan at kumay kasama ang pamilya. Story 175. Yesterday, I played cards with my family and went sledding in the snow with my younger sister. Story 176. I had bloody diarrhea. I was embarrassed because my card was declined, so I just stayed where I was. Story 177. My foster children, who we were hoping to adopt, were sent back to their birth mother. Happy ending. They came back and we are going to adopt them later this year. They are a 2-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. Story 178. My two best friends and my husband took me to watch Beetlejuice, and then we went to dinner. It was low-key. Story 179. This post made me realize that I do not even remember what I did. Story 180. I was too busy with college to do much that whole week. The only thing I did was watch a half hour of a terrible horror western. Story 181. I had dinner with my best friend and his family. I cried later because my mother and the man I love did not call or text me to say happy birthday. Story 182. I worked for about an hour and then did nothing for the rest of the day. I work in transportation and only had to drive a group to the local pool, so the whole trip took about 20 minutes, and then I was done for the day. Story 183. I went out with my friends to see a historical place without telling them that it was my birthday. It was still special because they took time for me just because I asked. Then we celebrated at home. Story 184. I spent much of the day on a flight to New York City. I had a tasty steak for dinner and ended the day at the rooftop bar of my hotel. I spent a week exploring the city and hung out with some Reddit users one night. My birthday party was a few days earlier at a friend's house. We ate pizza and watched Face Off. Story 185. I planned to hang myself, but I was unsure what day it was, and by the time I wanted to do it, the day had already passed. I forgot my birthday, but it's a good thing. Story 186. I did not do much this year. I did not skip school like I did before. We went out to eat and that was it. For my sweet 16, I had a small get-together with my mom, my boyfriend, a friend, and my grandparents. Before that, I think I only received a cake or a card. I had only one actual birthday party in elementary school, but I do not remember when that was. Story 187. I had a nice family trip to Italy for 10 days. I spent my birthday on a boat in Lake Como. Story 188. It was 4 days ago. I received some money from my close friends as a gift and bought some snacks and a bottle of Coke. Story 189. It was my birthday yesterday, and I went to the cinema and hung out with friends. Story 190. Nothing. It was last week, and no one remembered it as I expected. Story 191. I sat alone in a dark basement, played video games all day, and drank, just like any other Saturday. Story 192. This might sound like an ad, but it's one of my favorite places to go. I've been to an amusement park called Nobles in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania. It is cheaper than most large parks in the United States and has many great rides. They have several cool wooden coasters, a ski lift that offers views of the park from above, a water park, and the grounds are free to roam. You pay for rides and games. They even allow outside food, but if you want to buy food there, they offer many options such as pizza, Greek, barbecue, and Italian. I've gone there for many of my birthdays and will continue to do so. It's in a fairly remote area, but I highly recommend it to people who enjoy amusement parks. Story 193. I do the same thing with every birthday. Ignore it. I've had enough birthdays. I don't really want any more. Maybe if I ignore them, I won't get any older. Postscript. No, it has not worked at this point. Stupid time. Story 194. My child, his girlfriend, and his best friend went to a grown-up arcade. They spent about $100 and bought a megaphone to use for other activities. Story 195. My last birthday was a major milestone. Story 196. I went to work. As far as I am concerned, after about 30 it becomes another day. Story 197. I attended the funeral for the father of my best friend. It was my 50th birthday. Story 198. My birthday was actually a couple of weeks ago. I share the same birthday with my mom, and our original plan was to have dinner with family, but plans changed quickly. My mom's boss gave us tickets to a basketball game that night. We had a quick dinner and went to the game. I had been begging for years to get tickets to a game for my birthday, but they were always expensive or the team was too bad, so it was nicer to stay home. Thankfully, the tickets were free, the team is great, and they won on a near last-second shot and a strong defensive play to secure the victory. I also had a second celebration a couple of days later. I went to a concert with friends to see a Korean pop group we really like, and we went to Korean barbecue afterwards. One of the best birthdays I've had. Story 199. My birthday was on November 20th. I stayed home and made buttermilk cookies with lemon icing. Story 200. Well, it was during the hurricane, so I couldn't go out. I spent the day doing last-minute storm preparations. I had cake with my family and loved ones, and we set up a photo shoot for me at home, so it worked out fine. Story 201. Mine was just 2 weeks ago. I went to London with my daughter. We ate amazing food, visited St. James's Park and fed the squirrels and parakeets, shopped until we dropped, enjoyed Japanese cakes and sweets, bought too many books, and laughed like idiots. We played Pokemon Go the whole time we were in London. All in all, we both had a great day. Story 202. I went to Portugal and Italy. For your information, Portugal is absolutely astonishing. Story 203. Spin class, birthday cake pancakes, hot and cold plunge therapy, giant Italian feast. Story 204. I worked. Only my boss and a couple of coworkers acknowledged it. Story 205. The first time I celebrated my birthday as an adult since I was 17, I had a few friends over and we played Magic the Gathering. Growing up, nobody came to my birthdays except immediate family, like an aunt or an uncle. Felt nice. Story 206. I stayed home with my wife since neither of us could afford to go out. She cooked a nice meal and we watched television for a bit before going to bed. Story 207. I was planning a night on the town, getting drinks with friends and eating pizza. I ended up staying home alone all day and playing PlayStation 4. Story 208. I got a drink from a drive-through coffee place with friends and talked with them for a bit. Then I got a burrito I had been wanting. After that, my husband and I spent the day together doing our own things with a few phone calls in between. Story 209. People always had family obligations and businesses closed early on Christmas Eve. Story 210. This past birthday I did not do anything, and no one texted or called to say happy birthday or to ask if I was doing anything. I thought it did not bother me until one of my friends in my group had a surprise party the next month. I realized I did not matter. Story 211. I started with a good workout at the gym, then did everything I needed to do as usual. I feel so good. Story 212. I do not know. Hopefully I have not had my last birthday yet. Story 213. For the past 9 years, I had spent my birthday with my now ex. So on my last birthday I was just kind of miserable, wishing we were still together. Story 214. My girlfriend surprised me with an 8-day Disney World vacation. It was truly the best birthday I have ever had. It is odd to have someone in your life who actually listens to your wishes. Story 215. I bought myself a few things online, which I am grateful for given my situation. Other than that, nothing happened. No celebration. No one called or gave me gifts, and I did not even leave the house. It was mostly uneventful, like any other day. I wish I had been able to do something big, but I am still very grateful for where I was then and where I am now. Story 216. This year I did nothing. I usually do nothing for my birthday. Last year, however, I went to the zoo and the movies. That was a one-off, laughing out loud. Story 217. I had mine on October 17th. I slept and ate some good food. Story 218. I am never very excited about my birthday except for wishes from my close ones, or those who used to be close. Story 219. Nothing for the most part. Well, sort of. I always spend my birthdays the same way. In bed watching Netflix with a half-gallon of cherry chocolate chunk ice cream. I prefer to be alone on my birthday, so most of my friends don't plan anything for the day, and if they stop by the house, it is just to drop off a gift and chat. Story 220. I worked for 12 hours. I cooked myself a steak for dinner. I went to bed early. Story 221. Absolutely nothing. It was a Tuesday, already the worst day of the week. I went to work, came home, slept, and then returned to work. Story 222. I honestly cannot remember. I was in a somewhat depressive period on my last birthday. It was my 27th birthday, and I have always had this dark feeling that I will not live past 27. So I was trying to get through the day. I am hoping to make 28 better, but it remains to be seen. Story 223. I went out to dinner with my family. Then they threw a surprise party for me and my younger sibling over the weekend. It was amazing and the best birthday ever. Story 224. My parents and I went to a disastrous Brazilian steakhouse that my aunt had recommended. We skipped the steak option and tried the buffet, which was mostly soup and other unappealing items that no one liked. Cost $180. Story 225. My last birthday was in September of this year during Hurricane Helene. I sheltered in place, watched a Yankees game with my family while our dog slept through the storm, and ate hot dogs and macaroni and cheese. Story 226. I went to work like it was any other day. My wife bought me an ice cream cake with some of the money she was supposed to use to pay her car payment. I paid it. Happy birthday to me. Story 227. I toured a brewery and ate at a low and slow barbecue restaurant. It was a pretty good birthday. Story 228. I drove to Walgreens to buy a Vicks VapoDayquil and NyQuil bundle. Forgot my identification and told the cashier I was 21. It was about 20 minutes past midnight, so I said I was 22. The clerk was understanding and let me buy it anyway because she saw how much I was suffering. Story 229. My adopted family threw a surprise party for me at a fancy restaurant. It was my 60th birthday. Story 230. My daughter and her wife were arguing, so I got into my classic Mustang and went for a ride. While I was out, I picked up a cake and some ice cream. When I got back home, they were still arguing, so I ate the cake and ice cream by myself. Story 231. I rented an 8-person cabin lodge and hired a chef friend to cook a meal for my friends and me. It was perfect. Story 232. I went to Spain with my girlfriend. We enjoyed the sun and each other's company for 5 days, then flew back to the cold Netherlands. Story 233. Last week I organized a party and invited everyone to give a short presentation about something they really enjoyed. Since we had all been away at college and wanted to catch up, I gave away prizes to those who answered correctly in the minigame. I also bought a crochet keychain as a tribute to my dog who passed away. Story 234. Nothing. Well, I got up, showered, and did my normal daily routine. I hate being out of work. The firm went bust last Christmas Eve, and the economy here in northern Germany is stagnant. I design mechanical devices for the medical and automotive sectors. Xenophobia is at a peak. I am British, and things are generally very tough. Story 235. My dad flew out for my birthday and took me to dinner. It was my first birthday after my divorce and a stroke, and his visit was very sweet. Story 236. I went out to a couple of stores and bought some merchandise. Later, I went to an arcade bar, which was pretty fun. I then had a late dinner and tried Waffle House for the first time. I must say it was probably the best breakfast place I have ever been to. So good. Story 237. For my 18th birthday, I went to see Limp Bizkit with my boyfriend. That was this year. They are still touring, and I am sure this is not 2001. Best birthday ever. Story 238. I cry. That's every single birthday I've had. Story 239. I was sick, so I postponed my plans to go by myself to my favorite restaurant. I took an Uber a few days later when I was feeling better. I walked up to the door and saw that it was unexpectedly closed that day. It was kind of a bummer, not gonna lie. Story 240. I turned 23 on November 8th. It was a Friday, so I was very happy, laughing out loud. I went to work, came home, and celebrated with a tiramisu cake with my family. We kept it simple. Story 241. My birthday was yesterday, the 24th, and I spent the day with my family. It was perfect. Story 242. I received nothing for my 18th birthday, not even a gift. I was grounded for missing a single class in high school. Story 243. My husband got me a cake that says shrimp are bugs. I had a photo shoot for my baby girl. I do not remember doing anything else and probably went out to eat. Story 244. I cannot remember doing anything for any of my birthdays. Story 245. I hugged my Asian dad from behind and told him, "Thank you for taking care of me for the past 20 years. Story 246. No, just babysitting. I am at the stage of my life that I do not want to celebrate my birthday. I prefer a total rest day and to eat banh mi. Story 247. I did absolutely nothing. The day just passed by. It was my 25th birthday. I cried all day. I think it was because I was not happy with where I was in life. 25 seems like a milestone age to look back on achievements and progress. I am hoping next year is better. Story 248. My birthday and my dad's are in April. This year I was depressed because he died a year ago, 3 days after my birthday, so my birthday doesn't feel the same anymore. Story 249. I went camping with my oldest cousin and my youngest cousin. One of my oldest cousin's friends came with us. It was fun, but everyone kept getting harassed by horseflies. Story 250. I made rice and beans, which is my favorite. I was sure I did not have tokens and enjoyed a candlelit dinner. Story 251. I studied for the midterm exam, and I expect it will happen again next year. Story 252. Stuck a sparkler candle in a muffin and posted it on Instagram. I had just moved to a new country 2 weeks before and wasn't really in the mood for anything more than that. Story 253. I ordered pizza, watched a bunch of movies, and pretended I wasn't getting older while my friends made fun of me the whole time. Story 254. It was my 40th birthday, and although it was a surprise, I knew my friends were planning a party. It was a lot of fun. I wore a beautiful dress and was surrounded by most of the people I love. Story 255. I appreciate every day. I have no idea what happened that day because nothing significant was happening. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.